All right. Running just a little behind, that's okay, but I'm going to call us to order. And if you will call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Saragusa?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr?
Here.
Mayor Mason.
Here. Item number 2 tonight, our invocation will be by Dan Scheidel, the director of the United Way. And on the flag salute, since I forgot to ask someone, I'll do it. So if you'll stand.
Mr. Mayor, commissioners, staff, guests, please join me in prayer. Holy Father, I thank you for bringing us all together tonight as we lift up our community, and thank you for the recent rains. Help bring about restoration in communities that were ravaged by tornadoes and storms, and comfort them in their time of loss. Lord, give us rest in this hurried culture of ours as we pray for solitude and peace. Father, we just lift up our community to be unified in a culture of anxiety and noise. Help us to be a community of communion with God through the practice of prayer, and let us not be a culture of distraction and escapism. Lord, we just lift up our community of love and depth in a culture of individualism and superficiality by being a community of courage, fidelity, and caring. We stand for justice, mercy, reconciliation, and a culture of injustice and division through the practice of service and outreach. And finally, Lord, we just lift up our community of hospitality and culture through the practice of witness and action, doing, not just hearing. Let us live as a light and to be prepared always to be called out of this world at any time into the presence of God, where we will receive our eternal reward. Bless the business at hand this evening, and I pray that you guide and direct every one of us in what we think, say, and do, and may it glorify you and bless our community in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3.1, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of April 16th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 4.1, present pet available for adoption at the city's Animal Welfare Department.
I did not see.
Uh-oh. All right. I'm not here, okay.
I can assure you, all of our pets have not been adopted, so that want to take some in, please go out there and see them. It's free.
For adoption today?
I've already got my quota, free.
Okay, item 4.2, I would like to do a proclamation for the National Public Works Week.
And I'm just going to briefly say I'm director of public utilities, but it's all public works in many ways. But I was thinking about the proclamation today, and I think everybody should probably Google on the internet a day without public works. There's a bunch of YouTubes out there, and they let you know what happens if our people don't do what they do every day that you don't recognize. I've got Mike Williams up here. He's over technical services, and they do traffic lights, and that's part of that day without public works. And it's just kind of funny to watch because we take a lot of stuff for granted, especially all the things we have for granted in this country. Because if you go anywhere else, you realize we don't. We are very good at what we do. Step aside.
You want to say anything?
I don't know what to say.
Microphone's all yours.
I didn't prepare a speech, but I do know that we got a great crew in Public Works all the way across the board. We take care of our streets. We do take care of our technical services, take care of our fleet, right? And we also take care of our parks. And all four of those divisions or those groups do a fine job. We get great leadership, great crews all the way across the board. I'm proud to be part of that organization, and we want to continue to do what we do. Even your air conditioning, think about that. What would a day like be without air conditioning? Jennifer? No? Okay.
No, sir.
All right.
I don't do that.
Well, we do appreciate your entire teams. All we have to do is have a water break and so many phone calls we get, right? So we get used to those utilities, and we appreciate it, and it doesn't just happen. So allow me to read this. It says, whereas public infrastructure, facilities, and services are essential for the containment of sustainable and resilient communities and public works, and whereas this could not be provided without the dedicated effort of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste supply systems, public buildings, and other essential structures and facilities. And whereas it is in the public interest for the residents, and especially Enid's children, to gain knowledge of public works and public works programs to promote their ongoing interest. And whereas this year is the 64th annual National Public Works Week, now therefore I, David M. Mason, do hereby designate the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. So thank you all very much for what you do. I'll let you have that. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, item 4.3, discussion of any item remaining from the study session on the agenda.
Mayor, I recommend we go on down the agenda because we're going to pick it up again at 6.2, Jennifer and Morali. And so I think we won't miss a thing if we just keep going.
Okay, works for me. Thought you were saying something, Commissioner. Item 5.1, hold a public hearing and consider action on an application submitted by On-Site Ready Mix, Enid, LLC, and Oklahoma Business Land Holdings, LLC, requesting to utilize the property at 620 North 54th Street, zoned Industrial 3, Industrial Heavy District, as a portable concrete plant.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my remarks brief, but always available to answer questions. And we do have a representative, I believe, from the concrete plant here to answer questions as well. Tonight, it's a two-step process. Of course, hold the public hearing. So after my remarks, and if you have questions for representative, the owner, we need to provide an opportunity for public comments relative to this topic. And then after the close of the public hearing, consider action on the portable concrete plant itself. I will point out and make sure this is not an appeal for a concrete plant in I-3. This is the normal process. It's a two-step process. So I just want to make sure that you realize this is not an appeal of an earlier action. It's at 620 North 54th Street. It's in the I-3 Industrial Heavy District. MAPC recommended approval, and we've had no adverse comments to date. And again, in our zoning regulations for I-3, it's a two-step process. First, it's studied by the Planning Commission, which they did, and the recommended approval. Then it comes to the City Council for a hearing, and requires express approval from the City Council to approve citing the concrete plan.
We have any questions or concerns, comments you want to make?
Any comments from neighboring parties? Anybody
No,
here?
we don't have anybody that signed up to speak on those topics. Okay, that being said,
And I'll move to approve.
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor of allowing this, cast your votes. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 5.2. This was one that 3 weeks ago we tabled. That's why I've had a lot of people say, why are we removing that? We're not removing it, we're just taking it off the table is all we're doing, to where we're going to discuss it again. So 5.2, remove from the table the appeal of Garrick and Stephanie Friesen of the use by review granted by the MAPC to Jeff and Kelly Gwynn for a private clubhouse at 1402 West York Avenue, and make a determination on the appeal. Scott, I think you've got some information on this you can share with us.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I had a fun little project that I did, and I went out to Government Springs, and I had my high-tech.
According to Robert's Rule of Order, one of us has to remove it from the table before we move forward on it.
Okay.
That's right.
Is that off of a motion? Do we do it off of a
We'd
motion?
have to do it off of a
Okay.
motion. One of us
Okay,
has
hold
to
up,
bring it
Scott.
off of the
My
thing before we can
apologies.
discuss it.
So I'll look for a motion to remove it from the table,
I
being
move that we
tabled.
remove it from the table.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, cast your ballot. All right, we are now removed from
Thank you, Mayor.
off the table.
Well, my wife Angie and I went out to Government Springs South, and there's a pickleball court over there. And I downloaded a high-tech instrument on my phone for free that would show me decibel readings. And so there's multiple courts where people can play pickleball at Government Springs South. There was only one game going on, and I thought, since the wind was blowing, I would take some measurements upwind and downwind, and you can see what those measurements were. Pretty well courtside and up to 50 feet, you could still hear about 70 decibels. What the background decibel means is that just with the meter out, with the wind blowing and the noises that you just hear in the background, that's how loud it is. And upwind is towards where there was a softball game going on, and so the further north I would go, the louder the background decibel readings would be. And whenever it says NA down there at the bottom, that pretty well means, although I might be able to hear them hit the pickleball, the instrument doesn't show any difference between the background noise and the ball. So those were just some interesting measurements that I took, and that was a fun little exercise to do. I know that Mr. Gwynn took some of those readings as well, so I thought I would take some too. This is a scale just showing what typical devices, how loud they are on the decibel reading scale, so take that into consideration. And I thought before we got going, I'm going to be brief because I really want to step out of the way and let you guys discuss what to do on this. But I thought I would remind you there are some conditions of authorization that the Planning Commission has to look at before they approve any use by review. And so I thought I would just remind you what those conditions of authorization are, and those are in our ordinance. The effect it has on the properties, things like drainage and parking, traffic impacts, noxious or offensive emissions, a few of them that aren't really applicable, like industrial uses or adult entertainment, but protection of public health and safety. And it does say the commission may impose requirements necessary to meet the above conditions. So options going forward, you can table it, you can send it back to MAPC, approve, deny, or approve with some conditions. The only one that really makes sense for me to offer any help on is approving with conditions, and these are just some examples of what conditions could be. But these aren't just things that we made up. We looked at several ordinances that other cities have done. We have not found any ordinance in Oklahoma that has a pickleball ordinance, but some other states have something similar to this. And so having lights where they don't shine and where they don't cause a glow over the fence, maybe an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. restriction, and maybe even a limited 4 hours a day, no more than X amount of hours per day. Mr. Gwynn said he would use the paddles, so that could be a condition, the quiet paddles. And then that it would only be, the Gwynns would have to accompany anyone over there. It wouldn't just be open to anyone to use all day long. It would be something that they would have to do. And then on number 4, I think this is important if we do something with conditions, is to name what those conditions are, and if those are violated, that we will call that a nuisance, so then we can use our nuisance ordinance to address that, to do something with it. So that's an idea of what we could do with some conditions. Really, that's all I've got for you. I don't know if anyone's, I believe that the Friesens have signed up on this item to talk some more about it. So that's all I've got. Are there any questions on what I've presented? And I'll step out of the way and.
Okay.
Thanks.
We may have more questions in a second, Scott, but Mrs. Friesen, did you have, you'd said you wanted to read something to us? Okay.
Good evening. So we had something brought to our attention here real recent, and we obtained this information only today due to, we tried to go to the courthouse yesterday after work and they were closed due to weather. And so we went this morning. This is a restrictive covenant for the subdivision that our home and the property in question resides. And I'll read a couple, and it's a very old document, and we would have copies for you guys, but when they tried to scan or stuff, they didn't, they were black, so we just have pictures of them. So this is A, and it says, all lots in the tract shall be known and described as residential lots. No structures shall be erected, altered, placed, or permitted to remain on any residential building lot other than one detached single-family dwelling not to exceed 2 1/2 stories in height, and a private garage for not more than 2 cars. And then to show, that this is still active. This is still an active covenant. This is J, and it says, these covenants are to run with the land and shall be binding on all the parties and all persons claiming under them until July 1st, 1966, at which time said covenants shall be automatically extended for the successive period of 10 years unless by a vote of the majority of the then owners of the lots it is agreed to change and said covenants in whole or in part. And so the clerk at the deeds office said there has been no recorded changes or amendments when we talked to her today to this covenant.
Okay, so with that being in, say, everybody in that neighborhood that has a shed in their backyard is in violation of that covenants. Do we as a city go out and fine everybody in that neighborhood that has a shed in their backyard?
Okay, we don't enforce covenants.
I know we don't enforce it, but what I'm asking is, do we
Okay,
go
we
from this
don't
point
enforce
forward?
it, and the people that live there have to enforce it. And can you show me that last part? It's pretty hard to read. It's the one about the 66. Let's see here. Are run with the land and are binding under them until July 66, at which time automatically extend for successive periods of 10 years. Okay. The covenants are something that the property owners do. It is not something that the city does. And some covenants don't, I don't think the single-family lot has, that's not one of them, but there are quite a few covenants that no longer are constitutional. That's not one. They could go to court and do something about it based on these covenants. I would note that I know that there are buildings that do not comply with this throughout this old development. Because, for instance, there's the park that the Champlins gave us that was part of this.
That's in a separate edition, sorry.
And the Champlin mansion and other mansions. So I'm not a title expert. I did look at it a little bit because of the Champlin issues and stuff. And the Champlin house and the sewer problem that you guys, some of you will remember. But I guess what I'm saying is, generally covenants, if it involves building, you're supposed to, now these covenants are very old and they're not really the same kind of covenants as you have if you have a homeowners association. These run with the deeds. So that is a distinction, and I'm not a title attorney. But it is an interesting point. I would suggest they go to a title attorney if they want to do that. If they want to try to stop whatever you guys are going to approve. But, and we have done a few things. We have, for instance, in a couple, we have prohibited the requirement in covenants that the only kind of roof you could put on your house is a shake shingle roof. So we did that in 1999 because at the request of, I think, like the Woodlands, because there were so many trees there, it might be dangerous. Okay, so you all can still act. You could table. I could find a title attorney. We could look into it, but we are looking into something we can't enforce. Our zoning is separate from the deed and the deed restrictions and these very old covenants.
Is this considered a perpetual covenant, though, because of the way that's worded?
That's what they're trying to do, yes.
Okay.
But, it was actually, yeah, yes.
I just have something else to think about as we're talking about the pickleball court, too. Is this a historical district, and would it take away from that?
No, it's not listed as a historical district. Waverly is.
Kenwood.
And Waverly's north of there.
Yeah, this is, there are some, I believe that the Champlin Mansion, I know the Champlin Mansion is historical.
their gardens and things are. But particular houses might be, but this is not one of our two historical neighborhoods.
I make a motion that we approve the pickleball courts with option 5, approved with conditions.
You would need to help us specify the conditions.
Specify the conditions.
It's listed 1 through.
You might read those off.
We're not going to take a vote until I let everybody speak. Yes, sir.
Are you on all the conditions in option 5? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, sir.
So can I say this? I'm having a problem with the 4 hours. Who's going to enforce that? I mean, we don't have time to get out and do,
We don't have any time to enforce any of them.
well, I understand that.
It might be helpful to read so everybody will know what the 4 conditions are. I don't have it pulled up.
Use of outdoor
you.
lights is limited to lights that do not shine into other lots or cause a glow over fences. Playing pickleball will be confined to 1 court and quiet paddles will be used. The hours for pickleball will be limited to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pickleball play is limited to 4 hours per day. 3, the pickleball court will only be used by the Gwens and guests that are accompanied by the Gwens. The private clubhouse will be locked when the Gwens are not using it. 4, if these 3 conditions are not adhered to, use of the private clubhouse will cease upon notice to the Gwens by the Community Development Department under Ordinance 441 titled Nuisances. Now, this isn't a condition, but this last paragraph was that these conditions, other than the lights, focus on the pickleball court. The conditions discussed would not apply to other uses, such as cookouts, gathering with friends or family. So it's other than not using the lights so that they would shine on the properties, they could do other things like, use their golf clubs for putting and cookouts, gatherings, that kind of thing.
I could answer that if this is approved with conditions, the city would do the best we can to respond to nuisance complaints. For instance, if somebody said, hey, they're out there playing 5 hours a day, it would be challenging, but I think we would do it because I know this has been a difficult issue for the homeowners, particularly the Friesens and maybe the Gwens. And so if it is approved with conditions, I think it would be incumbent on the Gwens to try and be good neighbors and follow this as best they can. Are we going to, if we're inundated with complaints, I don't know how much we can do, but we'll do our best. I have Mr. Gwynn's phone number. I'd be happy to call him. I don't know if he's going to be happy with this or not, but it really doesn't matter at this point. What matters is what you guys think and what you guys do. So that's the best answer I have for you on, would it be easy to enforce? No. But would we do the best we could? Yes.
I have a couple of things. One is, number 3, if we do approve this, I wouldn't have a problem with the Gwens have a couple of friends that want to go use the court. I don't think the Gwens have to be right there watching that the whole time. To me, that seems kind of overdoing it. But those 2 friends playing do count in the 4 hours per day if that's the limit. But then the other thing I wanted to bring up, and this came out in the last meeting where they gave us some information, and Dr. Lance Willis, who was a principal acoustic engineer for S&W Acoustics and Noise Control, talked about the sharp sounds of pickleball play, and it can be helped by sound barriers. However, the impact was limited, and he recommended extensive sound mitigation efforts for homes within 150 feet. The Friesen's bedroom window is 75 feet from the north end of the court. And so we would have to make sure that the trees go in, that there are definitely extensive sound mitigation things put into play for this one, because he's already built the cement and it's 75 feet from their window. Going forward, I think we need to set a precedence that the house needs to be 150 feet or 100 feet away from the pickleball court. So I think this is a little bit different situation that we're in, but going forward, we may need to tweak these rules a little bit.
But would that limit it just to pickleball? What if somebody put a basketball court in their backyard and they have a small yard?
Well, if it's in their backyard, the rules don't apply. This is because it's adjacent to their property, that they're falling under the use by review.
You have a motion, right? You haven't gotten a second.
Well, he said he was gonna hold it up.
Yeah, I've got two people that want to talk on this, Rob.
Well, we don't have to have discussion until we have a motion.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't need to have discussion until we have a motion, right?
We've got a motion.
It hasn't been seconded.
Oh, I thought you just said you seconded.
No, I said there has not been seconded.
Oh, okay, I thought you said you seconded.
So I'll
So,
make a motion that we approve it without any of the conditions.
without any conditions?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. I'm gonna let Ronnie Jenkins, you want to speak? Mr. Jenkins, you've got 3 minutes on a hearing, so,
That's fine.
yes, sir.
Ronnie Jenkins, 1729 South Johnson. In regards to the pickleball private clubhouse proposed by the Gwens and the appeal from the Friesens, let it be known, I am not for it, nor am I against it. The Garrett and Stephanie have the right to appeal, protest, and Jeff and Kelly have the right to request their clubhouse move forward with conditions. However, conditions placed on the proposal needs to be conditions so that those who would like the same opportunity in our city could afford to do so unless the requests are done on each site individually. Jeff proposed at the last meeting placing the same type of trees around the pickleball court, which many could not afford to do so. Mr. Stallings just proposed no conditions. This should not be a condition because other people can't afford it. Since this is a full lot proposal, conditions need to be thought through thoroughly so we don't start putting conditions on basketball courts in private driveways. And I know we already probably have conditions for swimming pools like fences and what have you. If this proposal moves forward, the MAPC will most likely have to approve any proposals brought before them, such as so that the fairness and transparency for all citizens in the city of Enid is equal to all. May I play a short voice message that I recorded from the Oak where pickleball is played?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's just 39 seconds. Oh, I guess I better turn my volume back up. I'm going to stop it right there. What I'm trying to show there, I've recorded this from up above at the Oak with pickleball being played down below. The Friesens have said that their bedrooms are upstairs, which then would be overlooking. So not only do we have the sound of the pickleball, people get excited from playing pickleball. And so you're going to have there, again, some type of noise coming out. That's all I've got to say. Like I say, I'm not for it or I'm not against it. It's just something that we need to make sure we do fairly for all citizens within the city. Thank you.
This is a use by review. And use by reviews are not
Bind into
ordinances.
other, yeah.
So a use by review is where the MAPC and you all look at the particular circumstances. It may, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if this is approved and another one isn't approved, this is one of those unusual things. Maybe, we need to consider an ordinance on pickleball, but it inherently with use by review, it depends on the lot, it depends on the circumstances, and if someone has the money to to spend a lot of money to make it okay, then that is inherent in use by review, although at this point, the motion doesn't include some of those conditions.
Understand that. Okay, that's everyone that signed up to speak on this topic. We have a motion, and Commissioner, you want to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak because me and Commissioner Saragusa, we went out and played some pickleball at the Wynn's house. It was pretty fun. And I walked about 75 feet away from where Jeff Gwynn and Commissioner Saragusa was playing. Their voices were louder than the actual pickleball. I really couldn't hear it. And then they had like two different types of paddles. There's a low tone paddle and then there's a more higher pitch paddle. Even with the higher pitch paddle, it wasn't loud. It was louder with the basketball being bounced. And their voices were louder than the pickleball. I'm just being honest with you. The reason why I tabled it is because I want it to be fair, even to the Friesens. I want it to be fair to you all. And my personal judgment and my experience with this, it wasn't loud. And I called the mayor, and I let the mayor know, and I called the other commissioners, some of the other commissioners, and let them know that, hey, it wasn't loud. It was louder, just their voices carrying was louder. And then, there's a lot of traffic on Indian and York. The cars were really loud in comparison to that. And when I talked to Mr. Gwynn, he said, Derwin, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this happen so that my neighbors won't be, as far as sound and light pollution, he said, I'm willing to, whatever it takes to approve this, I'm willing to abide by the rules. So in all fairness, I did my due diligence. I kept my word. I went out there, and that's the reason why I voted in favor of it, because it wasn't that loud.
Any other comments? All right, I have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. All right, motion passes 6-1 to allow it. All right, I'm going to move on to item 6.1, conduct a hearing on the proposed 2024-2025 City of Enid budget and related authorities financial plan.
This is a hearing to hear from anybody that's signed up. Has anybody signed up for the hearing?
No.
Does anybody desire to talk about the budget? We're going to hear plenty of it here in a moment.
We do have a video we'd like to show you.
Oh, yeah.
We were going to start that off. This is to help citizens and just anybody let you know how budgets work and how municipalities make our money through sales tax and things like that. So this is getting ready to be on our webpage. So we wanted to let you see.
Worldwide premiere.
Much like preparing a budget at home to plan for expenses, the City of Enid also prepares a budget each year. This annual budget serves as a working plan for operating our city. Our budget establishes the amount of revenue expected to be available, which then sets limitations on the amount of expenditures that can be supported. The budget sets priorities to determine how the resources will be allocated among the services and programs our citizens expect and need. Also, the city needs an annual budget to comply with the Oklahoma Municipal Budget Act, Title 11, Oklahoma Statute 17-201. The city of Enid gets its revenue from the sales tax paid by residents and visitors when going out to eat, going shopping in our city, fees paid by customers, paying a water bill, playing around at the golf course, or attending a concert at the event center, and grant funding that the city staff works to secure. All of these sources of revenue are considered when it's time to prepare the annual budget. Sales tax is the largest funding source for the city. Sales tax is collected when you make a taxable purchase within city limits. The sales tax rate in Enid is 9.1%. The city of Enid receives 4.25% of that. The state of Oklahoma gets 4.5%, and Garfield County receives 0.35%. Did you know the city of Enid does not receive property tax as a source of revenue for operations? Property tax goes to the public school district within Garfield County, Autry Technology Center, and Garfield County government. Some of the revenue collected by the city of Enid is restricted, which means money can only be used for specific purposes. Some of the revenues are unrestricted, which can be used for purpose deemed necessary. Of the 4.25% sales tax the city gets, 2% is unrestricted and spent on general fund operations. The general fund operations include things like parks, the library, streets, and public safety. The remaining 2.25% of the city's share of sales tax is restricted and can only be used as allocated. In other words, the revenue collected by this 2.25% must be spent on projects for which it was intended and not mixed with other funds. 1% of the restricted funds goes toward capital improvement projects. These funds can only be used for capital projects like construction of infrastructure. 0.25% goes toward operational and capital costs of the fire and police safety departments, and the remaining 1% is restricted to Kaw Lake water supply and other capital water projects. User fees are charged for services by areas of the city of Enid operating like a business. The Municipal Authority, Enid Woodring Regional Airport, Meadow Lake Golf Course, and Enid Public Transit Authority are all examples of how the city runs like a business. Fees are only charged to customers who use the services. These fees help fund the operations of the department charging the fee. Decisions are made throughout the year based on budgetary inputs from staff, departments, and the community. The mayor, city commission, city administration, each department, and citizens all have say in the annual budget. This is all part of the budget cycle. The city of Enid's fiscal year begins on July 1st and ends June 30th. The budget preparation begins in January each year with estimates for revenues, departmental operating expenses, salaries and benefits, and capital expenditures being prepared. City leaders and staff review the prioritized projects and services to include in the budget. Projects and services are generally included if supported by revenues. By the end of March, a draft budget is ready for review. In April through June, revisions are made, a public hearing is held for citizen input, and the budget is adopted. For the entire fiscal year, city staff ensures the budget is implemented and monitored. So any adjustments to the current budget may be made. At the end of the fiscal year, an annual year-end audit is performed by an outside CPA firm. This reporting process provides financial feedback on the budget. The city leaders and staff are all committed to being fiscally responsible with the city's funds. As stewards of public funds, the city uses good judgment and thoughtful management to maximize the resources entrusted to us. You can be a part of the budget decision-making process too by attending a public meeting or contacting your city commissioner. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, follow, and share this with your friends. Until next time, thank you from the City of Enid.
That's very helpful, and that was a very handsome mayor caricature that you used up there, so thank you.
Who made that?
Our communications department made that.
That's pretty cool.
It was.
I was going to say, you must have your reading glasses on.
Yeah. Oh, Commissioner, I've got all kinds of things I can say, but I won't. My wife always says, use better judgment before you speak. So there is, this was just a hearing. There was no one that wanted to speak. There's no vote necessary, so I will move on to 6.2. Discuss and take necessary action on the fiscal year 2024-2025 City of Enid budget.
Again, I have very few slides, just kind of some overview of our capital improvement program, which you, I'm sure, have heard CIP. We use that a lot. That's what we're talking about for capital improvement. This is the funds that we'll be looking at tonight, and Morali and Jason will give you the details and what projects go in which fund of what we're proposing for next year's budget. Here's our page numbers. If you want to follow along, and he will not be discussing the escrow fund. That is basically the basins of developer fees that come in. So there's no projects that actually happen in the escrow fund account. And this slide shows you the transfers that we receive from EMA. So every single fund for our CIP program are transferred from our Enid Municipal Authority Fund, which is where we have our utilities. And we will talk about that more on Thursday night. But these transfers are in there lower than what we had last year, basically when we were trying to find a balanced budget. You know, some more items were cut. The far right column shows you those are the revenues that are not transferred from EMA. So we have just a few of those if we ever receive any grants for anything, and interest, of course. And then in the Street and Alley Fund, they receive vehicle license tax and gasoline tax, which is not enough to support that fund, but there is at least a little bit more than what we have for EMA. And then the developers' fees, as I said, are what happens in the escrow fund. And if there's any projects in the stormwater fund, we transfer from the escrow fund to support those, and we get with engineering and they let us know if any projects happen in that correct basin, and then we transfer funds from that basin. So unless you have questions, I will go ahead and let engineering start.
It's all yours, Morali.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This is the fun part of my job, to put projects into the fiscal year. Capital improvement projects. Typically, these projects are major improvements to the real properties and the major maintenance. Some of the projects are not like regular projects for city personnel. And these are one-off, so they handle the engineering to take over those maintenance projects. This year, we have about 42 projects. In 42 projects, about 11 projects are design-only projects. I'm going to discuss in detail in the presentation. This year, budget is about $11 million for about 30 projects, 32 projects.
So Morali, is that 53 new projects and 11 are design only, 42 in the budget?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. So just a glimpse for the commission, you and Jason and your team are managing 53 potential new projects, and you got a whole lot from this year and maybe previously. Do you have a count on how many?
So I think the running total is around like 113 projects.
Okay.
So
113, is it 113 plus 42 now?
the total together.
Total? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's 113. So that's a lot of projects.
Right. But, I mean, it makes me easier, but I got a good team. I got like 3 design engineers and 3 project managers and 3 inspectors and a surveyor and a GIS team. So I think, and I got a city engineer too. So a majority of the projects being handled by city engineer and staff. And some of the projects are one-off, so we have to hire sub-consultants outside this engineering firm. This $11 million being divided among about 7 different funding: fire, street and alley, capital improvement, street improvements, sanitary sewer, stormwater, and water capital. We are going to go in very detail into every project, every fund. Jason's going to cover a few in the beginning, and I'll come back and finish the remaining funding.
Mayor, Commissioners. The first project we talk about is fire, for the Fire Station 1, conceptual plans. Really what this is going to kick off some remodeling and some additions and some upgrades to the actual facility at Fire Station 1. Budget amount is $10,000. Street and Alley Fund is the next group, Fund 30 as we refer to it as. The first project is one that's handled by Public Works Department. This is kind of the smaller repairs, the crusher run that's required on gravel roads, crack sealant, and asphalt. So kind of the maintenance portion of what we do here. Second project, this one is also kind of it's a little more in engineering now than it was, but it's also, along with the help of Mr. Gilbert and Public Works Department, we refer to it as a point repair program, the street point repair program. It's $1 million, and what it does is when there's smaller, curb breaks, sidewalk breaks, small repairs on city streets, local streets, that type of thing. We have a contract put together that the contractor will kind of run and do those repairs as needed, as requested. We have a long list of them, and we keep them rolling on that. Another project that we do every single year, sidewalk partnership program, both residential and commercial. Each one of them is $25,000 a piece. This is a program where a resident can apply to partner with the city on making repairs to the sidewalks out in front of their businesses or their homes. Like as I mentioned, we split it 50-50 with them unless there's any kind of ADA upgrades that are needed, and then the city covers that portion of the project. I forgot to mention, if I get talking way too fast, holler at me, because I know I can tend to do that. And if there's any questions at any time, just holler, just stop me, and we can talk more detail. And the Capital Improvement Fund, this is the grant match part of the funds account, and this is the Prairie View Trail. The funding that we got from TAP, sorry, I think about it for a minute, because it was TIP or TAP, from the TAP program, which is a Transportation Alternative Program. That's through ODOT. We got $1.2 basically 1.25 million, and it's going to be an 80-20 split. And it's going to be design and construction of a trail along Willow from Oakwood out to Prairie View Elementary. Currently, the project is in about 30% design complete. I think we're kind of expecting the 60% plans at any time now. So, Property Improvement Expansion and Acquisition Fund, Fund 40-405-9151. I'm not going to say that every single time, but we got a handful of projects. I think there's 3 in this one for $348,000. The first part is the $113,000 that will go towards traffic signals, components, infrastructure improvements. This is the type of stuff like traffic cabinets, emergency detectors, battery backups, and things of that nature that help control the traffic signals in town. Michael Williams has designated a set of corners, intersections that he wants to replace. Those are listed there. Second part of that group is $85,000 for the rewiring of 2 intersections in town. The first one is at Westmore and Van Buren, and the other one is at Owen K at Leona Mitchell. And that project would basically kind of, what it says is what it is. They're going to run new wiring throughout all the intersections, from the pool boxes, cabinets, and everything in between to make sure those are good. And then the landfill permitting project. This is going to be a multi-year project. We have $150,000 budgeted this year, and this project is the expansion of the landfill to the south. It takes several years to accomplish that, and we're just in the process of going through that. I believe this is our 3rd year that we've been working on it. Raleigh, they said, was it 8 years? 8 years total. What it's going to take to get that to happen? So, property repairs and maintenance, Fund 40-405-9220. Got $600,000 this year on it. 2 projects: the ADA transition plan compliance, and then the convention hall weatherproofing. This year's ADA project is we're going to start the design and construction of ADA trails that will be ADA compliant, beginning at. Sorry, Marley, my brain just went. Yeah, starting at Randolph and going south to the Oakwood Trailhead. I can't see that good. We made that too small, Marley. But so basically, think of that stretch there along Oakwood, and having a trail connection from there up to Randolph. And then, as I mentioned, the convention hall weatherproofing project. This is kind of the continuation of kind of multi-year project of getting that building into tip-top shape, so that we don't have some of the worries that we have there now. Park projects, got $180,000 in it for a group of 4 projects. If I say Champion and Champion wrong backwards, I'm sorry. But Champion gym roof repair, $35,000. If not familiar with Champion Gym, it's over on 10th and Chestnut at one of the nice playgrounds and splash pads that we have here in town. And then $35,000 for the Champlain Pool bathhouse roof repair. That kind of describes exactly what it is, repairing the roof there at the pool. Then we have $60,000 for new playground surfacing at Ambucks Park. And then we have $50,000 for regrouting the Champlain Pool to slow down stop the leaks and increase the longevity of that pool. Reconstruction overlays, we refer to this as our arterial street program. We've got budgeted $1.1 million. That's a group of projects. As you can see, we have those 2 listed also there. I'll talk a little bit more about them, but we have them listed as design only. First project in the arterial street program is the resurfacing of Roop street between Oakwood Avenue and Cleveland Avenue. Our focus on this project is increasing the longevity and the durability of that of Roop along that stretch as the soccer complex grows out there, and as well as development happens out there. That road needs to be upgraded through that process. We have $100,000 this year designated for the crack seal program. This is a program that actually used to be around when I first started, and we never spent money on it, and then so it kind of went away. Morelli and I talked, and talked with Ashley Humphreys, Public Works, and she asked why we don't do it anymore. And so Morelli and I kind of talked and said, well, we need to get back and doing it. And so what this project does is focuses on applying crack sealant to asphalt roads. It increases the life of the roads. The two roads we're going to focus on this year is Willow Road between Cleveland and Oakwood. And some of y'all might say, oh no, that's a brand new road. Well, it's actually 5 years old now. So when we go through and crack seal, you seal all the small cracks that have occurred just from shrinkage and things like that. And it'll increase the lifespan of those roads just by multiple years, every chance that we get to do it. And then the other street that we're going to do, as I kind of talked, led to a little bit earlier too, is Route between Garland and Oakwood. And like I said, we got to get those, keep that road available and good for a long time. We have $710,000 for the second phase of 66th Street reconstruction. This is the kind of the last leg of the 66th Street area out there for the industrial park. The project initially started as 0.7 miles of complete reconstruction, and so last year we've got that about, I want to say 2/3 of it is what was done on the first phase, and so now this last third is this 710 is going to cover that last third.
Is that under construction, or when's it going to be?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's under construction currently. Yes.
I know we started. We had a start and a stop, but I think it started again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to hear that.
Yep, it's moving forward good. It was originally a kind of really rough gravel road, and so this will be a nice connection for that. It will be concrete. A couple of the design projects that we're going to look at this upcoming year is the Randolph. First one is Randolph Mill and Overlay between 16th and 25th. We've got a really good head start on this project. We've got all the heavy lifting done as far as the design goes, and so we're going to finish up this coming year with the any kind of utility relocations, and then kind of some of the finer details of the corner nodes and things of that nature that take a little more and drainage and things like that.
Can I ask if that included north on 16th on that intersection with the mill and overlay, so we don't have the whoop-de-doos coming to the stop signs?
I've looked into that, sir. Yes.
So it would go.
I'm just keeping you on it, Jason. That's why I know I've asked you about 15 times on it to
What's
take a
our
look at
standard
that for me.
distance at intersections that you always go a certain distance?
Our standard, there really isn't a set number for it. We call it, we take it to the end of the PI.
Okay.
Which is
So it'll be
where
whatever it
it's-
takes to get the whoop-de-doos out.
Yeah. But for this one, we'll focus on the whoop-de-doos to get those out. So whoop-de-doos and streets
So
are.
the point repair for the last 3 years has really not done anything except make them a little bit taller.
Yeah. But that project, like I said, it'll be. We've got a really good start. It shouldn't take us too long to wrap it up. So it'll be ready to go. And then the other one is the reconstruction of 54th Street between 412 and Chestnut out east of town. It's a concrete road, and it's just in pretty rough shape. Got some really bad spots in it, and concrete has some issues with it, and so We've talked about doing a repair program, and it looks more like a reconstruction to me. So we're going to look at it as far as a design standpoint and see what we can get the most bang for our buck for that project. Local streets. we have 400,000 budgeted this year. Majority of those projects are design-only projects. The project that currently is under construction, and this will be the last kind of the phase of it, $400,000 for 10th Street between Garriott and Chestnut. This project is include the reconstruction of the street and all new sidewalks, and then one of the early phases of it was the new water line along that section as well. The first design project for the local streets will be the resurfacing of Wagon Wheel between Willow and Cleveland. We're going to look at what's there and what we can do as far as improvements to basically the surface, and then any kind of drainage situations that might be causing some of the worst, some of the issues along the street, so that we can get a longer life out of that. The second one is North 8th Street reconstruction, Broadway Ave to Randolph. A simple street reconstruction situation, new road, new sidewalks, things of that nature. Harrison Street, Main to Broadway, another kind of block-long project that's basically very straightforward, reconstruction of the street, sidewalks, any kind of drainage issues that may be present. Design only, the other, I think this is the last one, maybe one more, but South Jefferson Street, Indian Avenue to Illinois. This is over by the high school. Just another street that just, kind of a block section of street that we can redo the roadway and improve sidewalks and things of that nature.
What'd you call those, Commissioner? The hoop-de-doops?
Whoop-de-doos.
There's one there too.
Yeah, this isn't the major whoop-de-doo up here at the north corner.
I mean, we want them down at the bike park. We don't want them on 16.
North 12th Street reconstruction, Chestnut to Peach. This is design only as well. This will probably be, it's not the lowest priority by any means. I don't mean it as that. This is probably be the last project we'll start design on this coming year, because it's a fairly large stretch of street. And so we'll get those few block projects, get those knocked out of the way, get the design on those out, and then we'll come to this one.
Jason, is Monroe from Birch to Poplar in this year's to contemplate, or when are you going to get that on the plate?
It was not on this year's list.
Well, Birch was on the list, but we can visit about that. That's
Oh,
the
I
street in-
apologize.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the
yes.
one.
I'm sorry. I was on the wrong street in my mind. I was thinking more over here. No, that project is I'm actually got it in design right now.
Okay,
so,
great.
So, and one thing I want to mention as Morale comes up as we trade off here, we're going to get these projects. I mentioned design only. We haven't done this in the past, mentioned it in this manner before, but the idea is that we're going to be able to get these projects designed and ready to go and have really good bids, not bids, really good estimates before we sit down and do our budgets to, present our budgets to you all. And so the projects will be shovel ready when budget's approved. So, thank you. Any questions for me, please?
So can I just ask one question? And I think I know the answer to this, but on the design only, that does not include any utility movement or overhead high line. I mean, you're not doing anything except just the design work, right?
That kind of depends on it. That's a very good question. And typically what we try to do is at about 60% of the design. That's when we really look at the utilities that are, not our utilities, gas, electrical, cable. We pull those companies in and we sit down with them and go through what the project is going to look like. And then is any kind of relocation, yes, that will start. That's when we want that to start. Last time I spoke with the gas company in town, it's about a 6-month process for them to relocate anything kind of major. So we want to get those situations. We want to be ahead of the game, and that's part of the situation too. Is this design only type of projects, so that we'll have those out. We'll have those situations of relocating the utilities, 6 months, 9 months ahead of of when the actual project will be bid.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are these just concrete jobs or is this asphalt also?
The majority of them are all asphalt. I think there was a handful, I apologize, I may have went through that too fast. Wagon Trail, that'll be an asphalt project. And I feel like I'm forgetting, Roop is another asphalt project. But yes, the rest are.
Okay, because I was wondering, because I knew they were asphalt presently. I didn't know if we were going to go into concrete. But the reason why I brought that up, there's a street in Commissioner Orr's ward. It's called Bryant Street. It's right off of Oakwood. It's right behind Assembly of God Church. About 2 years ago, I poured a driveway there. And when the concrete truck came in, the whole street began to roll. It buckled. And it started rolling as the truck came down that street. And that's in Ward 6.
Okay. We'll get that on there. Okay.
And I just had a comment, or don't know where to really put this. I want to preface, I do believe that our roads are our main concern, but something that I noticed a long time ago, Enid is not a walkable city. I know sidewalks are very expensive. I would just like to be able to see more accessibility. I mean, most of our businesses, there are no sidewalks to them. I grew up in cities where there were sidewalks down every street for safety concerns. I love the trail on Oakwood. I love that is going to be happening. That's wonderful. But I guess I'd like to see more sidewalks in the city.
I think the sidewalks are typically whenever we do the arterial streets and collector streets. But on the local streets, because of the right-of-way constraints, we don't.
No, I understand that. Mostly on where there are businesses. I know that there's a variance where people can apply for that. I honestly am not very fond of that. I know it saves them money, but in the long term, it hurts those who don't have vehicles. Just encouraging people to get outside and walk, I think would be more beneficial in the long run. That's just my 2 cents.
I appreciate your comment, and you know what's happened is that we had a good trail program, and we lost a couple of commissioners that were really behind it, and it's fallen into the heap here. And I would agree that we need to resurrect that, and Drew put some money in this trail system. You guys aren't thinking about trail systems, you're fixing streets, and I appreciate where you are. But if we don't get it back on track and really put some money behind it, it is not going to go forward. And I think that's our responsibility, is to keep their eye on what we think is important. Now, you guys may not think it's important at this point. I can't speak for each and every one of you. I think it's important, just like you think it's important, so.
And I agree with you all, because when we were, during our final budget for the CDBG, there's 4 members in the room that's on that board. And Dan Scheidel, he had brought up the fact that we don't need to pull money from our after-school programs where we have individuals who are willing to contribute to our community, and a lot of them do it for free through nonprofit organizations. He brought that out, and I totally agree with that. And Commissioner Roberts, you're exactly right. We do need to do that.
And that reminds me, we did speak about, I asked about, what about sidewalks around schools, because that is something that's really concerning, especially over off of, is it Chestnut? Garland? Oakwood, the school. Glenwood, yes. On the north side of the street where most of the kids come from, there's a small little sidewalk where there's a bridge, but otherwise they're walking in either the street or the grass, and it's just not safe. So areas like that really are concerning for me.
Well, I could just go ahead and make a few general comments. I do want to say we have not forgotten about trails. I'm very happy to say, I don't know what we showed on Prairie View, but that is a trail and a sidewalk, and it's going to a school. And so we're very happy about that. We are constrained with resources, and that's really the big challenge we have. So I agree, if we may not have gotten our priorities correct, but we only have a certain amount of money. So in our effort to make the money go further, we've really delved into the area of grants. And Stephen's been a big help. Prairie View is paid for, I think, 80% by grants. In fact, he did such a good job when we applied for that grant. We put in for 2 grants. One of them was for the Prairie View Trail, and one of them was for the and sidewalk to school, and one of them was the Vance extension to Vance. Good news is, because we've been moving using funds, we got a call from ODOT, which tells me we're developing relationships, that somebody didn't spend their money. So they asked us if we could spend the money, and we told them yes, we had the Vance Trail project ready to go. I believe that's even designed. And so I know, I don't know if we specifically have that in here now, but I anticipate that we will add it in the future, depending on that grant that Stephen's gotten confirmation we're going to get. So I'm happy about that. And I don't want to lose sight of arterial projects we do, like on Cleveland, we do the sidewalks. Thankfully, we did challenge, just for those of you that may have been around, we've gone through probably, I don't even know how many iterations of sidewalk ordinances, all the way from telling people you're going to do it, and then hearing about sidewalks to nowhere from commissioners, to now hearing we need to make it more walkable. And I agree. The best trade-off, I think, has finally been adopted. We finally all, I believe, figured it out. New developments require sidewalks. They have to. Old developments are very difficult to deal with. And so we don't get sidewalk variances anymore. I'm glad to say that. So either we're not stringent enough or we've hit the right thing. But I just wanted to, your points are all valid, but I just wanted to let you know it's not that it's falling on deaf ears. I do want you to remember, if I had unlimited funds, everything you ever said would be on here, and I'd have to hire more engineers. So we are going to be moving forward on some trails. Maybe it's not as much as we did. And the design only is a great effort by us. This is in-house design. If we paid people to do this, it is stunning what engineers charge to do stuff. So,
engineers are cheap, but what I'd like to see is bring that trail plan back to a study session. Let's revisit it and see, because I think what we'll find is the north-south movement on that trail system hasn't been completed. The east-west movement is in pretty good shape, but let us have some input as to what we think are priorities for moving forward on it, and I think the two of us can push you a little bit. So
please
do.
But
the engineers are really cheap, so don't.
Yes, and I just want to say one other thing.
Gerald, I need 2 more engineers.
I think we have 1 vacancy. And it's not yours.
And Jason, you're serious. Yeah.
We did recently put in for, again, I believe we're getting much more aggressive about looking for other people's money to use on this. And one long-term problem, it's a north-south thing on the trail, granted, was getting across 412. But we did put that in for a congressional ask, because Congress is back in the business of considering those kind of things. I have no idea if we'll get it or not, but your point's valid, so we will figure out when's a good time to bring that back in June or July and talk about the trail system. Perfect. Thank you.
One question, Gerald.
Yes, sir.
The ARPA funding, would that work as far as the trails, because it's based on COVID distancing?
Potentially it could, but to be frank, we've committed our COVID funds to the Call Lake project and/or the Ames Waterline project. I think we specifically committed a certain amount already with commission action on change order 6 for Call Lake. I think there's about, I don't recall how much is left. Maybe we got 11 million, and that'd be a good Aaron question. I'm not going to put Jennifer on the spot unless you want to be on the spot.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
We'll come back next time. We did get $11 million, and we've spent some of it, and the rest of it's.
Morelli might know. I think he was involved with most of those numbers as to those funds.
I spent it, I don't want to.
I know you said it.
There's nothing left.
You had the numbers.
Any more questions or can I take? Okay.
Keep
Gonna
going.
put you on the spot again?
Sure, I'm here.
Go ahead.
The next funding is the sanitary sewer capital improvement projects. We have a bunch of maintenance projects, and we got about $1.4 million to do about 7 projects here. Number one is this citywide point repairs I&I projects. This fund is an annual program. This is a very successful program. It's been happening for almost like 10 plus years. This program will identify all the sanitary sewer repairs, and we do video inspections and smoke testing within our sanitary sewer system. So anything that should be within these pipes needs to be inside the pipe, outside the water should be outside the pipes. So this program really helps us to keep the pipes in line. This program also, like annually we bid different aspects like a video inspection and a point repairs. Point repairs are typically we do like a 10 feet wide sections whenever we dig it. Next item is a root control. The video inspections will determine where all the roots are. So we will go back and chemically treat these sewer lines to control the roots. And these chemicals are only effective for 3 years. So we have to go back every 3 years into the same spot. That's why you will see this program constantly come back every year after year. The next project, we have about like 13 lift stations within the city. So far, we never had a backup to these lift stations. So in the last year, we started adding backup generators. So last year we added 3. And we are bringing up another 3 more lift stations this year, adding backup power. Another lift station we are bringing up to speed upgrade is a Hammond Phillips. This is one of the lift station which is very little used, but we have to maintain it. So we're going to spend about $150,000 to keep up. Bringing the controls and guardrails and stuff like that within the sewer lift station. The next one is the airport lift station. Here, the lift station is being upgraded, but in 2013, the controls need to be upgraded right now. It's already usable span. So. The next project is along, south of the town, just north of the overpass along the Van Buren. This sewer right here is sag because of the railroad track, so we need to go back and rebore that to establish a proper grade. This is a constant maintenance currently, so we need to go back and reestablish the flow line. The next lift station is the scooter lift station. It is along Van Buren, north of Purdue. The next fund is the sanitary sewer capital improvement fund. We got about 3 projects in the budget. Earlier in the study session, David and Mr. Ross mentioned about the current problems at the new wastewater treatment plant and also the old wastewater treatment plant, removing the suspended solids and the headworks, and also relocating the biosolids from the old plant to the new plant, and also adding a cleaning tube at the headworks. Project 1 is the final design of the headworks upgrade. So this will provide design, construction documents to bid the project, headworks. Project 2 is this funds, $150,000, provides for the preliminary design to relocate the existing biosolids into the south of the new plant right here. Next project is the right here. This is the headworks, and here we have a wet well. So adding a cleaning tubes in the wet well, this project provides.
Raleigh, can you stay there just a minute? I think it's important to note for the commission on the solids building, elaborate a little bit on that. We're talking about replacing, what's the only thing still functional, I think, at the old wastewater plant is the solids building. That's what we use it for. The rest is.
That is correct.
Ancient.
Yes.
Needs to be removed, which there's an item on tonight to start some of that. We need to build a new solids building with that processing.
That is correct.
And so I think you in this budget have some money to start on preliminary design.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a project that we probably need to, I think you've told me that we could plan that out over 5 years, so that's kind of what we're looking at. We want to get past the Call Lake project, but we need to be moving ahead on a solids. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? And David wants to as well.
Right. When we built the new liquids train back in 2007, city spent money on the solid side. So in 2004, city spent money to upgrade all the solids handling at the old plant. So which was, that time that the life expectancy of the upgrades were still there. So city did not pursue upgrading, building a brand new solids on the new plant. So we knew moving forward, this needs to be moving to the south side, but back then, since the city has put some money already into the existing plant, we bought some time on that. So right now, it's been almost like a few years, and the current, the upgrades that were being done in 2004, they used their lifespan. Currently, we have to relocate the digesters and also the solids handling like belt press, and also the lagoons that needs to be moved on the south side of the plant. Like David mentioned, the fibers that's coming into the plant, they became a mop heads, we call. These mop heads creating a obstruction for the pumping, because we have to pump from south side of the creek to the north side of the creek. So that's creating a lot of problem for us for the operation of the plant. So the headworks upgrade will create an additional screens before the headworks, and also the relocating the solids handling to the south of the plant will eliminate those two problems.
What do you think that, you probably said already, are we engaging somebody? We are engaging somebody to help us with that, right? Or?
Right. We requested for RFPs, so we got RFPs. We already worked with a firm to provide a proposal. We got the proposal. We are looking at the scope, and we will come back probably in a next meeting or the following meeting to award the contract to them. Then we will start working on the design, preliminary design. Then we know how much it's going to cost. It's going to trigger multiple stages for the final construction.
So probably in the next couple of months, it sounds like we might have a commission item to look at that, not only for just approval, but to also update on what would the 5-year plan be, or whatever the timeline is.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
When's that property to the south due up on their lease?
The property due to the south, a part of it is not leased. It's I guess you could say it's the backyard of the house on 42nd Street that the city owns and currently rents to a Stover employee. So I think that's where you're talking about putting it, right? I don't think that land is.
Yeah, this property on the south side is leased to for cultivation. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
lease, how long left on that lease? Because if we're planning that, we might want to section that out before we renew the next lease,
We'll have to look into that, I don't know.
so we don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Good question. Next fund is the stormwater funds. We have about $2.2 million budgeted for the few projects here. Live Oaks, this is a phase 2 of the project. You can see this is a Johnson and Live Oaks. Currently, in the FY24, we got contractor on board to finish between Johnson to the west. And this phase will complete from Johnson to the bird sanctuary. Next project is Waller Detention Pond. This year we had already completed the design and also clearing. This funding will provide for the construction of the detention pond.
Somebody leasing the property that somebody else owns, at least in the airport it is.
Next project, establishment of flow lines throughout the city. These funds are provides for wherever the existing drainage systems have not flow lines being like eroded. So we will go back and fix those flow lines. Some places we'll go back to dirt, depend upon the flow and velocities, and some locations it might not work, so we'll go back and put a concrete flumes. This is a project, and this is in the current year budget because of other projects took these funds, so we are bringing back to this project again to this year. This project will provide stabilization to the wall for 914 East North Eisenhower. Next project, 16th and Willow. This area is so flat. This requires a constant maintenance or during the flood events. And sometimes we have to put barricades and stuff like that. So this funds, $150,000, will provide a phase 1 of the multi-year project to establish a proper flow. All this flow will drain to the east and to the north along 30th Street. The next project is finishing up the storm channel, not channel, pipe. Recently, we finished a project from Garriott, just north of Indian Drive, and this project will connect that pipe, the pipe right just north of the house right there, to the core channel. The next project, drainage improvements in and around Lincoln, Oak, and Chestnut. This is a phase 2 of the project. The current year, we completed portion like right along the railroad track right here, established a proper channel right there, and there are a couple culverts being smudged, and so we had to replace those culverts, and we found more problems, and we knew going into this area, this is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project. So we are taking one bite at a time to finish this drainage improvements in this area. The next project, it's in the airport. There are a couple, known identified ditches that needs to be properly graded, and so this funds $75,000 will provide a proper drainage system in the airport.
Morale, on these drainage issues right here, what happened? Were they just built too low, or has...
It's a multiple problems, sir. So sometimes, because, the railroad tracks on the east side and the west side, the slopes are so flat, So railroad tracks kind of make an obstruction. So unless we put a major infrastructure under the railroad track, we cannot help those. And since the slope is so flat, it silts for the longer period of time. So it's a maintenance issue, so we have to keep constantly maintaining it.
I see. Okay.
The next project, this year we did a LiDAR inspection on this major tunnel that goes through Enid. This is about 72 inch by 85 inch dam, not inch, feet. Sorry, inches, yep. 72 inch by 85 inch culvert that goes through the downtown area. So we identified some of the spalling areas inside the tunnel. So these funds will help to patch those areas. The next fund is a Water Capital Improvement Fund. Account number for the water maintenance, $470,000. We got 3 projects identified. Project 1 is the $250,000 for street repairs wherever the water breaks were happened. So these funds will help as a point repairs to fix the streets. And about $70,000 to replace the fire hydrants and valves. These two, the $70,000 repair, mostly like we buy materials. The city crews will do the replacement majority of the time. The next project, $150,000. This project will replace the shafts at the Ringwood plant. The plant is built back in 1980s, so we have not been touched those shafts since that time. So this will fund those replacement of the pump shafts. The next is a water upgrades and extension. Here we have a bunch of projects. Again, they are design only. One of the main reason is we wanted to be shovel ready, these projects, and whenever the funding is available, we wanted to go ahead and execute those projects. That's the reason we are adding quite a few in the streets and also in the water, design only projects. About $225,000 is for Elm Street between 8th and 10th. So this, once we completed this project, so from 10th Street to Van Buren, the entire line is being replaced and upgraded. So there are a couple schools in this area. The fire protection is being bettered, and also the water meters are upgraded. So the streets will provide a longer lifespan on this.
Now, Morale, you had said that this is design only. This is one that's shovel ready.
225. This is this is going for the construction.
Yeah, I was going to say that's shovel ready because
Yep.
we already did up to 8th from
From
that
8th to 10th.
direction, and I knew they replaced everything on the sides to get this in.
That's right. The next project, it's a minor project, providing water on the south side of the Mid Lake Park. There is a cross connection between existing lines, so this need to be properly connected back into our system. This is a 66th Street. We have funding available for this project, providing water and sewer to the industrial park on 66 and Willow. So this year we already finished phase 1, and it should be going out to bid pretty soon. And this will be phase 2 that's going to be designed in-house to get this project out to bid.
And this will be paid for through grant funds? or
Grant
whatever they
funds,
are
like
through the
$14 million
Department of
we got.
Commerce,
Yeah.
In the amount of nearly $16 million.
15.8.
This is the design-only project. This is along Garriott Road between Cleveland and Johnson. The next project is along Meadow Lake, Meadowlark Lane, between Whippoorwill and Edgewood. Another project between 16th and 30th along Elm Street. So these are all design-only projects. Finishing up with the final slide, 42 projects, $11 million.
That's a lot of projects. That's only $11.4 million.
We got major projects are design-only, yes.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you, the commissioners may have some questions, but also at some point I would like you to give an update on a couple things that aren't in the budget that probably will be, specifically Cleveland, finishing that to Willow, and you may have talked about Ames Water Line and I missed it, but that's another important project that we need to share with the commission what's going to happen at some point. There'll be a budget amendment brought before them with funds to move forward on those projects.
Do you want to talk about today, or do you want to bring an agenda item, bring back?
I think, well, is this one of the final slides?
Yep, this is the final slide.
I think that I can update on Cleveland. I'll just be brief. That's a long-term project. We just recently had a meeting with ODOT. The city, you have approved $4.77 million. It's on somewhere in an interest-bearing account probably in the state. And you'll remember the last time we brought to you, we had some bids that we thought were high, so we had talked about the project, talked to ODOT. We talked about splitting that up. We are moving forward. They have convinced us that that's probably not a good idea, but we've asked for some design changes that you might talk about that we think may make it more competitive. Yeah. And they've also, more importantly, talked about the possibility of helping us a lot more, with more money. So that would be fantastic. I think that's important, and it's fast. If you want me to talk about it, I will. I think I already did, but go ahead.
Yeah, you already mentioned the major topics. Like the design changes, like currently, when we bid the project, the entire project was designed as an asphalt option. So moving forward, we are adding a concrete option also because maybe we could get competitive prices. The second thing is...
Can I raise a point of question? We're talking about our 24-25 budget, and I think we're kind of going a little bit off, that this needs to be brought up in study session.
Well, which we can do that. Carol, what do you think?
Well, hold on, let me jump in there. We can just, if you don't want to hear about it, that's fine. These are the things that don't get in the budget that are contemplated. I'm just telling you. So if you don't want to hear about them, let's just move on.
Well, I understand, but we're on point of order with the budget, and we're kind of getting sidetracked on what we're budgeting.
Okay, well, I respectfully disagree, but I'm happy to go home too. I want to see the Thunder game. Just keep. Do you have any questions for Morali? Let's just move on.
I have a few questions.
I'm happy to say less at these meetings.
As far as, this is a huge volume of work going on in projects. What's your projection? Is this 2, 3, 4, 5 years out? Or, I know we're budgeting it now, but is this many jobs? My reason why I'm asking you the question, do we have the contractors that are qualified to get this scope of work done within the next 2, 3, or 4, 5 years?
I think like most of our projects, like we will execute this year.
Okay.
And one of the options we, like as a city and the staff decided is the provide option for the contractor to bid the contract time. So previously, whenever we used to put contract time, we used to get like less bids. Now, since we are giving option to the contractor to bid the contract time, so we are getting more than one bid, especially concrete and water lines projects.
Okay.
So there are some projects like roof projects, we might not get like a lot, but concrete and pipelines and stuff like that, we are getting more than one bid. Because the contractor has the ability, hey, I can prioritize which projects I can bid.
The reason why I'm asking that, because I'm in that industry. And I used to do a lot of work for the city before I got on the council. And a lot of times, just certain contractors got bids and the scope of work was set upon, while other contractors were hungry because of the amount of money that the bids came in at. You see what I'm saying? Because of the amount of money that the bids came in at, so we weren't as proactive as we could have been in making more progress, because there were only certain contractors that bid it, right? There was a stopping point. They didn't have the manpower to be able to get all the work done. And this scope of work, you have a lot of contractors. Do we say, well, we're just going to take lowest bidders only? Or do we look at it and say, hey, they might be a little bit lower, but we need to keep making progress? You see what I'm saying?
Right, I agree, yeah.
That's a reality that we need to look at as a city managing how we use our money, because it happens and it shouldn't. That's why I'm asking that question.
I think it's like we will bring back to the commission, but the problem is funds, like you mentioned. So we do not have enough funds to go to the next bidder or the following bidder. Sometimes the lowest bidder is wherever we are. So we have to work on.
We're supposed to take the lowest responsible bidder. That's state law.
But you don't have to. I've seen it. You don't have to.
When it's state law, yes, you have to.
Well, when it,
I think the key there is responsible.
Yeah.
You know.
Responsible, yes. And I do think we're maybe straying at this point from the just going through the budget projects.
That's why I was asked for stay on point.
I get what you're all saying. I understand what you're saying. But I'm also saying, if we don't have enough contractors to be able to fulfill the need of these jobs being completed, we're at a standstill. We're stagnated. And we're not making the progress that we could make. We're budgeting the money to get the jobs done. But if we're limited on the contractors to do the work, it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years before this work has been done.
It will happen, yes. But
And one more thing, not to cut you off, one more thing. We got to look at the fact, I know we're talking about budgeting. The reality in budgeting also is the prices of everything is going up. So as the prices of material inflates, guess what? We're at a loss then. We can't just look at the right now. There's two ways to look at it. We're talking about managing money. That's why I asked that question.
But you're right, Commissioner. Like when we do bid the project, we do not put an escalation into there. So when we bid the project, those are the contract dollars established. So if it takes 5 years to get it done, he has to honor those prices. So I don't think we have that issue so far on certain projects. I agree with you, but we have not come across that problem so far.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, thanks, Morella.
Thank you.
I will move on to 6.3. Conduct a public,
We're still on
Just a
16.
minute, just a minute, sorry.
Okay.
I was just gonna show you, again, we're gonna have all 4 sections on Thursday's meeting. So any discussions you can have about the entire budget, if you have any questions for me right now on what we've already discussed last Thursday and tonight, I can try to answer those now. Other than that, we'll see you Thursday. So, and we will have all 4 sections on Thursday night, so you can talk about any of those sections at any time.
okay, thank you. 6.3, conduct a public hearing regarding the Community Development Grant Fiscal Year 2024 B24 Program Annual Action Plan, and hear from the public about the specific funding recommendations made by CDBG Funding Commission and staff. Ms. Gertie?
Do I go first, or do we have anyone signed up?
Go ahead and go first. We don't have anybody signed up.
Wonderful. The first thing I would notice, since we've been talking about budget, and the city's budget is 24, 25 that we're looking at, HUD is different, of course, so we are ending 2023, and the action plan we're starting tonight is 2024. So just to let you know, it's different terminology. They start with the beginning year, is how they call it, whereas we call it by the ending year. And so we are doing the coming year, which is 2024. The action plan is at the library. It's been available since January. It's printed copies I have. It's on our website. The commissioners all should have it. The funding committee have had it since January. The only thing we have not finalized, which is as finalized as it can be, is the total dollar amount, because HUD has not told us how much money they're giving us this year. Other than that, what you have in your packets is what I will be putting with your approval tonight on the HUD website as our plan for the coming year. Any questions about that?
Commissioners, anybody? Nope.
Okay.
And since this is a hearing, even though no one signed up, if there's anybody who wants to speak? Okay. Thank you. I'll move to, there's no action on that, but there is on 6.4. Consider approval of a resolution adopting the Community Development Block Grant Fiscal Year 2024 B24 Program Annual Action Plan, and authorize the mayor to execute the required documents and the CDBG coordinator to submit the plan to Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office of Community Planning and Development, following a 30-day comment period. So I will look for a motion to do that.
Come on, President.
Mr. Chair,
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 7 are our consent items.
Move to approve consent items.
Motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 8, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. All trustees are present for that authority. Item 10.1, approval of claims in the amount of $113,093.46.
To approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your ballots. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. All trustees are present for that authority. Item 13.1, approval of claims in the amount of $6,315.76.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Cast your ballot. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 14, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 15, public comments. I have 2 people signed up to speak. Our first speaker will be Justin Rhodes. Please state your address. Hold your comment to 1 minute, please.
218 West Main. Praise the Lord. Jesus took our place on the cross as us. In this world, we're supposed to take his place and make the world a better place with love. And the way we do that is by laying down our lives. Be willing to lay down our lives even for our enemies, because it's from the enemies we build the body of Christ. I was formerly an enemy, and then the Lord found me and made me his friend. And now I'm on a lifelong journey to make my enemies my friends as well. I don't think anybody's gone too far for me to try, at least to try, and pray for people. So that's what it's all about, love, and that's what Christianity is really all about. That's all I got.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Gary Brickman. Huh? Oh, he left. All right, with that being,
Is that you, sir? Is that you? You, Mr. Brinkman, stand up, sir, and come up here.
I don't really need to speak.
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Wasn't planning on it.
Well, you don't have to. It's not mandatory, I assure you.
The only thing I want to bring up is the city owns property on Willow, about 109 acres, south of Prairie View School. There is a noxious weed problem there that needs to be addressed. Musk thistles are prevalent there, and mowing will not do anything but make them worse. It needs to be sprayed. I just bring this up before the State Department fines the city for not maintaining it. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right. Item number 16, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have motion and second. Cast your ballots, 7-0. We are adjourned.
We'll go through.